and this is my mom, Lisa. We are here at the Burlington County Historical Society and Children's History Center to talk about with you early colonization in New Jersey.
Yep, we're here to talk to you about the founding of New Jersey, and we're standing in front of a map. Harry, can you tell everybody what this map is?
This is a reproduction of an 18th century map of New Jersey.
Yep, this is a reproduction of a map from 1769 of a map showing the colony of New Jersey. So before any European people came here, before anybody came and settled New Jersey, who were the original people that were here in North America? The Lenape.
Oh, I have a Lenape axe head.
Cool, so Harry's holding an axe head that we have here in the collection of the Historical Society from the Lenape, who populated this area of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, even parts of Delaware. And early 19th century, even into the 20th century, people around here in Burlington County found these types of artifacts all over the place, in the ground, along the Delaware River, and we have quite a few of these in our collection that we can showcase for you guys later. So the Lenape were the original people here in New Jersey, and then in the early 1600s, people came from the Netherlands and Sweden and settled here. In 1664, the English took over this part of North America and divided what is now New Jersey into a proprietary colony.
What does proprietary mean?
So I was going to slip that by you, but proprietary means that the land is actually owned by groups or corporations of people. So today we talk about North and South Jersey, but originally it was divided how?
Into East and West Jersey.
East and West Jersey. And can you show everybody the line on there where it went? So East Jersey, which is up here, was owned by Carteret and Berkeley, who were two friends of King James, who was the king in England at the time, and they owned this part of New Jersey and sold parcels of land to other people and encouraged them to come from Europe and settle here. And this part of New Jersey was called West Jersey, and this was founded by Quakers, notably William Penn, but many other Quakers and Quaker families who still live in Burlington County, and we'll be talking about them a little bit later. And the capital of East Jersey, Harry, do you happen to know what that was?
Perth Amboy.
And the capital of West Jersey?
Burlington City.
Burlington City, exactly. Burlington City was founded in 1677. So in 1702, it was united into one colony, and then in 1790, the capital became Trenton. But before 1790, we had two capitals of New Jersey. We had Perth Amboy and we had Burlington. And so we actually happen to be in Burlington City. We're at the Burlington County Historical Society campus. And so we are going to go off on a little journey with you and show you some of the sites of the capital of West Jersey that would have been here during colonial times. Let's go. Hi, welcome to our first stop on our tour of the capital of West Jersey, Burlington. We're standing here on the banks of the Delaware River in front of this big rock that is actually a marker for something pretty historically significant. Harry, do you remember the group of people that originally founded Burlington City? Who were they?
Wasn't it the Quakers?
The Quakers! So the Quakers came here in the 1670s. They sailed 3 ships and then eventually more ships from England up the Delaware River, and they tied up to this tree that used to be here. And this big rock is what Burlington City calls its Plymouth Rock. It actually is a marker showing where the original tree was. That was the mooring for the first ship that came here, which was the ship Shield in 1678. The tree has fallen down. They placed another tree behind us. They planted a new one behind us to replace it. But this rock marks that very special spot. So behind us, you see a building that was also here during the colonial times. It was the original residence of Governor William Franklin, who was Ben Franklin's son and the royal governor of New Jersey. And then after that, it was also the home of Margaret Hill Morris, who was another famous Quaker of New Jersey who kept a diary documenting the Revolutionary War that was happening all around New Jersey, and specifically in front of us, which is where the Delaware River is. So Burlington City is behind us. The town of Burlington City is behind us. To the right of us, we have Burlington Island, which is an island that's in the middle of the Delaware River. And people think mostly that when people say they tied up when they came to Burlington City, they founded Burlington City, it was really Burlington Island that was inhabited first. So the original people here were, of course, the Lenni Lenape were here first. And then they had a couple of outposts of Dutch and Swedish people that came up as fur traders. But the first people who really settled Burlington City were the Quakers who came from England, two parts of England, London and York. So there's two sections of Burlington City, New London and New Yorkshire. And they did come here in the 1670s. So Harry, what are you holding there?
This is a replica of the ship that they would have sailed up here, but this is actually not the ship. This is a replica of the Mayflower, but we're using it because it looks like the ship that they would have sailed up here.
Yeah, this is the type of ship that the Quakers that came from England would have sailed on to come up here to found the city of Burlington. And so the first ship that came here was the ship Shield. Another one was called the Willing Mind. Later there was one called the Kent. So once the first ship came, a number of others came along as well. So behind us we have the Delaware River. On the other side of the river is what, Steve?
Pennsylvania.
And then to the left of us we have what island?
Burlington Island.
Burlington Island. So you can see that it's a pretty windy day here at the base of the Delaware River in Burlington City. But we wanted to show you exactly where the original Quakers came and settled the city.
This is the next stop on our tour of colonial Burlington. Oh, look! There's Mr. Jeff from the Burlington County Historical Society and Children's History Center.
Hello, Harry.
Hello.
Do you know that this building was the headquarters of the proprietors? We talked about the West Jersey proprietors. They were the people who owned West Jersey, and after this became a royal colony, they continued to exist as the agency that would sign off on any properties that were in New Jersey. And in fact, they still technically exist. Now, they drew up a document in the 1670s, and it was called the Concessions and Agreements. These are old photographs of the document. They're in the New Jersey archives now. They used to be in this building, the Surveyor General's office of the West Jersey proprietors. They used to be here, but in 2005 they were moved to the Trenton facility of the New Jersey archives. And if you look here, you see that that's the cover. This is a book from the 1670s. You see a signature here. Whose signature is that?
That's William Penn.
That's William Penn. He was one of the prominent Quakers that were the first proprietors here. This building was one of a number over the years that served the purpose of the Surveyor General's office, and it continues to be used for meetings. They still exist. The East Jersey proprietors dissolved in 1998, but our West Jersey proprietors still exist.
This is our next stop on the Colonial Burlington tour.
Yes, Harry. This is a very historic building. It's actually a house of worship, and it is the Quaker House of Worship. What is the official name of the Quakers?
They're called the Society of Friends.
And I don't think they call their houses of worship churches. What do they call them?
They call them meeting houses.
Right, and this is the Burlington Quaker, our friends, meeting house. And this is the building that replaced an earlier one that goes back to about 1700, and that was made of brick as well, but it was six-sided and it was smaller. This is one that came in the 1780s.
This is the last stop on our colonial tour of Burlington.
And we are standing in the burial ground behind the Burlington Friends monthly meeting in front of this marker that marks the resting place of Chief Occonegan. So we started out our tour of Burlington when we were talking earlier about the original people who were here in New Jersey. Chief Occonegan was a Lenape Indian who was here in Burlington County, and he was a great friend to the Quakers and all the early settlers of New Jersey. And he's buried here on the grounds of this burial ground, somewhere between this marker and this great tree that's over here behind us. All the way behind us, you see the low stones that mark the early Quakers who came to Burlington City, who founded the city of Burlington and a lot of Burlington County. So we figured that this was a fitting way to end our tour of colonial Burlington. This is just the tip of the iceberg for our colonial walking tour of Burlington City. If you guys were here in person, which I hope we can do when the pandemic ends, we would be able to take you to the site of Ben Franklin's print shop. We could show you historic St. Mary's Church and Cemetery. We'd be able to show you the Main Street of Burlington and so many more sites. But for our virtual tour of colonial Burlington, we thought this was a fitting ending as we've been talking about Quakers. And it's also just the tip of the iceberg about Quakers. Quakers had such a strong influence in the founding of West Jersey and Burlington County. There are still many active Quaker meetings in Burlington County. There's Westfield Monthly Meeting, Moorestown, Medford, Mount Holly. Quakers were really influential in anti-slavery, rights of men, rights of women, all kinds of excellent things like that we would be able to talk to you about in a little more in-depth. So I hope you enjoyed your tour.